All right, what's going on, y'all? So lately, I've been getting tons of questions asking how I'm training for the David Goggins 4x4x48 that's coming up here in less than 2 weeks on March 5th. I know lots of you out there have been training for it. I've been training for it. If you don't know what it is, every year, David Goggins and thousands of other people do a challenge where they run 4 miles every 4 hours for 48 hours. And it comes out to 48 miles in 48 hours. It's not an easy challenge. It's more of a mental challenge than anything, but you do need to have that physical training in place. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. I'm going to talk about how I've been training for it and how I think you should actually go ahead and train for it to have the most success with it. Right now, I'm down here in San Antonio. I'm doing a collab with a pretty awesome company that a lot of you out there support and love. I can't say exactly what it is yet, but they've been having me out on obstacle courses all day. And it's basically 3 full days of pretty intense shooting, but I still got to get out there and get some miles in. If you guys have been following along, you know that Texas has had a pretty crazy last couple weeks with our snowstorms. So we went from being in the 20s and being iced in to 75-degree weather, and this right here is the San Antonio River. So I'm going to go ahead, get changed over, and I'll get out on the trails. We'll get talking about how to train for the David Goggins 4x4x48. So let's get it.
All right, so first let's talk about the physical part of this challenge. How to actually go ahead and get this challenge done and how to train for this. And then we'll talk about more of the mental side. And the mental side, especially for this challenge, is far more important in my opinion. Most people out there, if you've been doing any training at all, you should be able to get this challenge done physically. It's a mental component that's gonna be hard for a lot of people. So first off, if you're watching this video this year in 2021, we've got less than 2 weeks left. So the fitness you have now is essentially the fitness you're going to be going into this year's 4x4x48. So right now it's just playing things smart. If you're watching this for next year's challenge or any challenge after that, definitely pay attention to these tips. So the thing with the 4x4x48 is it's not like Boston. You're not trying to break a 3-hour marathon. You're not trying to hit certain time goals on those 4 miles, unless you are. You know, some of you have reached out to me saying you do have time goals, and if you do, that's great. But the reality is you can slowly jog this challenge and get it done. And I recommend for a lot of you out there, unless you've already been doing ultra marathons and ultra endurance events, take this way slower than what you might be thinking. If you're, you know, usually running, say, an 8-minute mile pace for 4 miles, you might want to go ahead and plan on starting out and continuing through a lot slower. The whole thing with this is you want to be building up your aerobic engine. So most of your runs should be zone 2. I talk about this all the time, the power of MAF training, MAF. I swear by it because it works. It'll grow your aerobic engine into a beast. And you'll be able to not only do the 4x4x48 and have no problem with it, you'll be able to do longer and longer ultras and have success with those as well. So focus on most of your runs being aerobic. If you're doing the challenge this year, I would caution you against doing any speed work right now. You don't want to go into this challenge being fatigued, because that's the big thing with this challenge. It's more a mental component and just fatigue overall than more actual fitness. So right now, be focusing on being in zone 2. That's why if you go and follow me on Strava, you'll see that over 90% of my runs for the last couple months have all been zone 2. It's all been in a very specific lower heart rate. So for this challenge and for the 4x4x48 in the future, definitely focus on building up your aerobic engine. That's how I've been training. That's what's worked well for me. And that's how I think you'll have success. 2, let's talk about more of the mental component of this. The hardest part about the 4x4x48 is the sleep part of this. It's every 4 hours, you're gonna be stepping out the door to run 4 miles. 4 miles is not a long time for most people, but if you're not used to every 4 hours doing that, this could be challenging. So right now, I would recommend to you to potentially this week, take some time that, say in the middle of the night, you get up in the middle of the night, one night, and you put your shoes on and you go out for 4 miles. It'll at least show you what to expect feeling wise. That way you're not hitting the face with it on that day. Now with that said, don't be choosing, you know, the few nights before the challenge, before March 5th to do this. If you want to go ahead and do what I recommend and get up one night to test, you know, that feeling of getting up in the middle of the night, do it at least a week out. You want the week before to be a taper week, a very easy week. You want to go into this challenge feeling very fresh. The good thing about this challenge, and I believe David set this up this way on purpose, so it would be more accessible to more people, is rather than starting in the morning, it starts in the evening. So the lack of sleep, the sleep deprivation part happens on the front end rather than the back end. But that's the biggest thing with this challenge is every 4 hours, putting on your shoes to go out and run 4 more miles. So big thing is train to build an aerobic base. You're training your body to move all day long. Once you've done that, then you need to go ahead and really be focusing on locking down the mental component as well. You do those 2 things, you're gonna be able to do this challenge and do it pretty successfully. Then you can start throwing in the fun stuff, like the speed workouts, the anaerobic stuff that'll make you faster, at least a lot faster than just building up your aerobic engine. But that's, you know, how I've been training. So I recommend for y'all is get used to being uncomfortable. All right, I almost forgot a really big piece to all of this, and that's nutrition. So the nutrition in your training should be how you plan on fueling during the challenge itself, just like with any other race out there. With this race, you need to be just getting enough calories in. There's gonna be some of you out there, just depending on the pace you're running at, all of that, and how much you're eating, you might not be in a caloric deficit. But for most of you out there doing the 4x4x48, you're gonna be running on empty for a lot of this challenge. You need to be getting the fuel in. So before the run, not right before, I like to get something liquid in. A lot of times that's G1N Sport by BPN. If you guys have been following me, you know I love that stuff for endurance. And you can actually see that down in my bio. There's a link for that in my bio. Besides that, I like smoothies. Not heavily green smoothies that will tear up your stomach during a run, but just something light and easy after the run. Very soon after the run, try to get in as many real calories as possible. That could be rice and pasta with some protein, something like that. But you need to be trying to get in as many calories as possible. That's just like what you do in an actual ultra marathon, a continuous ultra marathon. But for this in particular, you're essentially playing the game of fueling for not your next run, a lot of times not even the run after that, the 4 miles that you're gonna wake up for in 12 hours. So you need to be beating the clock food-wise. So to recap, go ahead, work on zone 2. If you're watching this year, don't wear yourself out right now. Keep all your runs light, keep them all in conversational pace, and then focus on adding the anaerobic work for next year's challenge, or even if your next race you've got planned. If you're watching this for another event, then do your aerobic work. Keep 80 to 90% of your runs aerobic, and then 10 to 20% anaerobic. You know, be working on your mental toughness. That'll come with, you know, increasing your mileage. And then you can do tricks like getting up in the middle of the night to run. And then 3, fueling. Make sure to get in plenty of food because you're gonna be racing the clock food-wise for this challenge. That's how I'm handling all of this. Now, I'll go ahead and finish up this run and check in with you guys in a bit.
All right, y'all, just wrapped up that run. I was a bit more tired than I thought I was after the day today, but we still got out there, got it done. So a couple other thoughts that I had for those of you out there training for the 4x4x48. If you've been consistently running, you know, at least 25 plus miles a week for a little bit now, you're going to be able to at least have the physical endurance to be able to complete this. You know, obviously those of you out there that have already been training, you know, marathon distances and more ultra distances, you know, those of you running 40, 50 plus mile weeks, y'all are good to go on the physical side. But even those of you that you might be new to endurance and this is a new challenge for you, if you've been running, you know, 20 to 25 miles per week, you physically can get this challenge done. It's going to come down to the mental ability. So it's going to come down to when you get into those dark moments where you don't want to do this, can you hold yourself accountable, or do you have someone else to help hold you accountable? I know David's going to be, you know, putting out a ton of stuff on his Instagram. I'm going to be doing the same, but find a support group that'll help you get through this challenge and do it successfully. Because once you do this, this could be a great catalyst for you to then move up to even harder endurance challenges and really try to find, you know, kind of your breaking point, kind of find that challenge that really does scare you. And if this really scares you right now, that's good. So, you know, all of you out there that are currently training for this, you know, definitely leave that down in the comments down below. Keep me posted with your training and definitely keep me posted with how the challenge goes for you. I'm going to be doing the same. Right now, you know, I'm not going to put this out there yet because I haven't quite decided on the number. But right now, the plan is that I will be doing even more than the 4x4x48. But I'll go ahead and keep you guys posted with all of that. But I hope you guys got some value out of this. You know, I hope you learned something out of this. If you did, great. If you could, go ahead and smash that like button for me. It really does help the video out. Make sure to hit subscribe if you haven't already. Be happy, be positive, be powerful, and have a great rest of your day.